Yo, what is up, guys? Survive Combats here, and today we are having the third episode of Survive Talks. We will be talking about should Resident Evil games have a soft reboot? Oh shit, echo.
Is it off me?
Yeah, I believe so. Hold up.
I gotta turn. I'll just turn my computer down.
But don't worry about it. Hold up. Oh, hold up. I don't think that's Oh wait, no, never mind. I'm stupid. Okay. Okay, and I accidentally just fucking muted you guys. How do I?
I unmuted myself. We're good.
Okay. Already talked. Unmute yourself. All right. Okay. Let's start over. What is up, guys? Survive Combats here, and today episode of Survive Talks will be referring to should Resident Evil games have a soft reboot. I am joined today by yet again Resident Evil Talk and one of our new guests, Next Gen Resident Evil.
Hello.
Introduce yourself, Next Gen, since you haven't been on the podcast before.
What's up, guys? I do a lot of Resident Evil content, a lot of Resident Evil theories, lore, and I have a lot of good things coming up in the future, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I thought it would be perfect for Next Gen Resident Evil to be on this podcast because he is the master of oh shit. I'm not gonna say lock picking, but lore. There we go. I've stayed up all night. I haven't gotten any sleep today, so all right. So first topic. What is our definition of a soft reboot? Who wants to go first?
Well, I don't know. I thought a lot about the variations of reboots, and I think there's a lot of other things to define as well, like the difference between remasters, remakes, and then of course reboots. For me, it seems like a remaster is the same thing as what Resident Evil 0 did. It just basically took the same exact game and cleaned it up and upscaled it, and but it's essentially the same game. A remake seems to be where it seems to be. I don't know, because it's not like there's a lot of remakes out there. But as I've said before, I think that the first RE1 remake was the game that really defined what a remake should be like. And it seems like a remake, if done well, is usually most of it is the same. Now a reboot, kind of all bets are off, it's a restart, of course. So a lot of things can change, characters can change, story points can change, the style can change. So, and then of course within that you have a soft reboot and a hard reboot. It's easier to define for me personally what a hard reboot is.
Sorry.
Basically,
what he's saying is there is two types of reboots. There's one which is a soft reboot, and there's the hard reboot. Basically, what a hard reboot is the Xbox version of Tomb Raider. That's definitely a hard reboot from the series. They restarted all the series or the story. Brought in new characters. They brought in new areas and everything. So Tomb Raider would be considered a hard reboot.
Yeah, and essentially it's like kind of going back to the beginning, essentially. I guess that's kind of the premise in a way, is just to retell the story. Whereas a soft reboot seems to be where you're keeping some of the story from the previous series, but also moving forward in a different direction. So, yeah.
Your mic's kind of breaking up.
Oh, is it?
A little bit.
Yeah, I kind of see a soft reboot like a remaster.
Yeah. Well, here's my definition of a soft reboot. Basically, you take out some stuff and leave a lot of it canon, like kind of like what DC does with their comic reboots. I believe is a New 52.
They went from
or
Flash
Rebirth
to
or whatever.
52. People didn't like New 52 because of the whole character relationships, and then they did everything with Rebirth. Where, Reverse Flash, not Reverse Flash. What's the other? Oh, it's not Reverse Flash. It is Kid Flash. Kid Flash.
Yeah, Kid Flash.
And then Kid Flash and Flash go through this thing, and then they have the Rebirth where they're trying to fix everything that people didn't like in New 52. But some of the continuity and stuff is still in Rebirth, so some of New 52 is canon still.
Yeah, so basically, let's say they reboot like the whole entire, like, let's say DC reboots the whole series, but they keep like a lot of the stories, like let's say Death in the Family, Death of the Family, and probably the Court of Owls. Let's say
they keep little things.
Yeah,
soft reboot. They keep little things. Or they keep majority of it, just change a little bit of stuff here and there.
Yeah, and you just take stuff that, or you leave in stuff that you want, and then take in stuff that you don't want.
Yeah, let's say say they wanted to soft reboot Resident Evil. Say they wanted to soft reboot Resident Evil 6. They can do that. They can just make it a horror game and just change little plot elements that people didn't like, but keep the majority of it the same.
Yeah.
Like story-wise.
So yeah, like exactly. And especially with you talking about RE6, the topic, or the next topic, is why should the series have a soft reboot? Sorry, RE Talk, you go first.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yep. So yeah, why? I mean, I have a personal stance on this, but also a lot of things I see out there also make me think that it's a good opportunity. I'm not really saying the series should in fact have a reboot. I think there's just a really good opportunity to do that. Like I said, on a personal standpoint, I think, I don't know, it's a personal thing, but I do see it amongst other people where the earlier games, it feels like the story was way more cohesive. It feels like, and I think that has to do more to the fact that pretty much every year a game released, if you think about it.
And Talk, you just cut off.
Kyle, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I just hear a little buzz, but I can hear you good.
Yeah. It sounded all robotic to me.
Oh, it did. Okay, let me see if I can change. Sorry about that. I don't know why.
I probably need to do this on Skype next time.
Well, it could be a Google thing.
Yeah.
Let me. I could put my webcam in. Maybe I'll use that mic instead.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back if you give me like 30 seconds.
Alrighty. Next gen. Yeah, you explain why the series should have a soft reboot while he's trying to get his camera mic.
Looking at the lore, I think everything's pretty okay, minus what they did with Revelations 1 and some of Resident Evil 6. But I would say like 6 really like flipped the series on its head when this survival horror series and it just goes into straight action. I'm not even gonna say action horror, just straight action. I don't think action horror is a thing. But Resident Evil 6 just went balls deep in like action, and it was ridiculous how scripted the game was too. But when you look at Resident Evil 6's lore, it's not that bad compared to other. It's not that bad in general because Resident Evil 6, you have Mahara Desire, the prequel to Resident Evil 6, that explains more about the Lepotistas and the C virus and stuff, which nobody really reads. And then when you get to Resident Evil 6 and you read all the files and stuff, everything seems really interesting, minus the Carla clone. And then when you actually play the game, you're like, wow, if this was an actual survival horror game, it would actually be a really good Resident Evil game in terms of like how good Resident Evil's lore is. Because I know Resident Evil doesn't have the best story, but the story in 6 is not that bad if you compare it to other stories in the series. So it's really hard. God, if they, man, that's a really hard thing to answer. Because 6 didn't do bad lore-wise, even though it's still a joke, but Resident Evil standards, it did pretty good. And that is... Just repeat the question one more time. I just got lost. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so hard to think to where Resident Evil should start off from and whatnot if they were to reboot it.
Okay, I think I changed the mic, so...
That sounds a lot better.
Oh, it does. Okay, cool.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
I hear you.
Okay. But reasoning for why the series should have a soft reboot is because, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's in there that kind of just, I don't know, it wrong way. Like that kind of just ruins story like Umbrella Corps, in which I will get into later. But also, you know, if they do a soft reboot and add in stuff, there's, you know, they can spice up the story. And if they just remake the story, it'll just, like, if they just remake the game, it'll be boring. But if they add in stuff like they did in Resident Evil, Remake 1, I think it'd actually be a pretty good story overall.
No, I always thought that they should reboot the series and just stretch out Raccoon City.
Yeah, that's I wish there was more games based on Raccoon City
because Raccoon City is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Many...
Every time they go back to it, it's always a much more compelling, fascinating story. So,
wasn't there another city like near Raccoon City? It was Stone something. I forget.
You're talking about Stone Valley?
You think they can make a game based off that?
Stone Valley was a fishing spot where Barry and Robert Kendall went. And that's near Raccoon City. It's just a fishing spot.
Like, I feel like they should do something around that area. Like a lake with a bunch of stuff around it. I think that'd be amazing atmosphere for a Resident Evil game.
This is something I thought of before. Because Enrico, I always wanted to see what Enrico was doing during Resident Evil 0, between Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. Now, all we really get to see of him is just him talking to Rebecca about Billy, and then him dying in Resident Evil 1/remake. And it would have been cool to see him doing his own little thing going from whatever he's doing around 0 all the way up until Resident Evil 1 where he dies, because he's traveling outside the mansion and stuff. So it'd be cool to see him or play as him roaming through the forest and stuff, fighting off like Cerberus, zombies. All of that would have been cool.
Yeah, see, like it's these minor details that they can add that richer, you know. It's like I don't know.
To add to that, I mean, like, I guess the big reason why this topic came up about a soft reboot is, well, number one, RE2 is already being remade, and there's also a lot of people I see constantly that are like, okay, also remake Resident Evil 3, and I would find that it's a minority opinion that probably, or maybe it's not just not existent actually, that there's any problems with, you know, Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 storylines or anything like that. So to me, those could be definite pure remakes. You know, there's no changes, but like RE1, you know, it didn't change the lore of the first original game, it just added to it, which is all well, fine and good. But I had also thought about that, like, this is a good opportunity if you are doing these remakes and it's turning into more of this soft reboot, you could introduce a new game in the storyline, like the hunk game that was supposed to or something that they were exploring around that time, where I guess Resident Evil 3 was originally going to be a hunk game. And there's always been support for a hunk game. Like, that would be a perfect opportunity to like sneak that in there, since, you know, just it's kind of this soft reboot. It gives an opportunity to go back to Raccoon City or go back to, you know, the original Umbrella and just continue on with that storyline. And you could do a few more games within that, in that whole universe, I guess I should say. You know, stuff probably prior to Resident Evil 4, because it really is. It's really a really interesting time. It was a really interesting time too. Back then, a lot of fans, me included, you know, just were always coming up with our own storylines, and it was always a fun time. It was always like, there's just so much opportunity there. So yeah, I think that's definitely why a soft reboot would work.
I don't know. Just the next topic is like, where could they start like doing actual soft reboot stuff? You know, you believe that they can actually like really hit it with Remake 2?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how successful RE2 Remake is, but I guess we'll assume if RE2 Remake is successful, then I don't know. Were you going to say
Start
something?
off on Code Veronica.
Oh, okay.
Start from Code Veronica. That would be perfect.
Like change Code Veronica, or after? Are you saying after? Or are you saying?
No, they were to reboot or soft reboot.
Yeah,
just start.
Yeah, the soft
from
reboot.
Code Veronica. Like, continue the story from Code Veronica, like where everybody said they wanted to take down Umbrella and stuff, and then you get to Resident Evil 4, it's like stock market crashed. Krauser, who are you? Then all this random stuff.
Right, and like, I think that's the thing is like, yeah,
they could take the Talos thing from the rail shooters and make that into an actual game we can control instead of it being on rails. That would be awesome. But that's it with that.
Yeah, and just because it's a soft reboot doesn't mean you wipe the slate clean, you know, and start over. You could definitely take what was done before and just change the style, as you were saying in the beginning, like just make it a horror game kind of thing, and that way it's more engaging, you know, obviously, because that's what Resident Evil was based off of, not rail shooters kind of thing. So yeah, it's a good idea, I think. But
yeah, that was so annoying. Like, you build these games up to where we're gonna take down. Everybody thinks that the next game is gonna be the Fall of Umbrella. Then the next game is Resident Evil 4, and you're like scratching your head. Regardless, that's a really good game. But then they throw like the thing that we were looking forward to onto a rail shooter. That
And
was
also,
so annoying.
Did they kill off Umbrella off game?
Yeah, they did that in Resident Evil 4, and then they showed us again. They showed us how it happened on the rail shooter.
In a rail shooter that came out, I think. Well, that was 2007, I think. Umbrella Chronicles, and the event took place in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. That's when they went to that Umbrella base or whatever, and
Arctic.
Or whatever. Yeah, so I think more to the point, it's some of the lore after Resident Evil 4, it changed so drastically. It went from a lot of it viruses to the Las Plagas, and it seemed to be that seems to be like a general problem that I see a lot of people have. Is, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a problem for me. It wasn't the Las Plagas, because I was like, if this universe has viruses, why can't it have the parasites, and why can't we do that? But I do see the whole, like, it was as if the first arc of the story, with Umbrella, was not finished, and it was too early for a change in direction. Although I think that's the thing, is that these huge changes in direction make an impact with people, because it's when the series is doing the same thing, and then it does this big drastic change, it gets a lot of attention. It gets a lot of people, and they are quality games. Like you said, Resident Evil 4 is a good game. So it is kind of confusing, but like I guess the thing I'm trying to say is the lore isn't exactly the problem. It was just how the story was told. It's rail shooters that you have to unlock. You have to like shoot the light in the hallway before the screen changes away, and then you can unlock a file. Then you have to go onto the library and unlock it. And then also, just the final thing I'll say is, like, Resident Evil 5 actually had some really good stuff in the libraries. Stuff about Sheva and Wesker, Jill. And I just felt like it wasn't... there's something about coming across a file within the game that makes it feel immersive, makes you feel like you're there and discovering and the story unraveling as you go through it, and to be taken out of that to this library. I mean, it still was fascinating, but I remember being so upset because I was like, this stuff's really good, but I think the vast majority of people aren't going to read it. And I think it would just be nice if, they could find ways during a soft reboot to integrate all those great story points. So it's not just, the story, but it's also how you're telling the story.
That is one thing that really annoys me, that people play a Resident Evil game and they don't read the files, and then they think they know everything. And then sometimes they're so short, it's really frustrating, because Resident Evil doesn't have room to put an NPC here and there to really explain things to you. That's why they put these notes and stuff everywhere, and that's unique as well. And if you don't read any of that stuff, you're going to be lost.
Yeah, and that's, well, here's the thing, is definitely with Resident Evil 5 and 6, because they were co-op, I think that the co-op, it does not give the players the incentive to really stop and read. Well, I don't think RE6 had in-game files, really, did it? I don't remember, but...
Yeah, Resident Evil 6 did not. That was really annoying.
Yeah, but Resident Evil 5 did, and you'd be trying to read a file, and your friend would just be like, come on, I want to read the file, damn it, and the other guy's like, no, so it's not a great incentive. It just caused more conflict during the gameplay, and it was trying to fit this old style of putting the files within the game, but you're doing co-op, and it doesn't really work that way, as we found out, because it really was hard to... and then the thing is, then you're like, okay, well, I'll play the game solo, but then the gameplay is so focused for co-op that I don't know. I can't play RE5 alone. It's meant for co-op.
Yeah, the AI
For me, I don't.
That's pretty funny because my buddy over here is playing Resident Evil 5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, alone,
I
right?
just bought it yesterday. And just got it downloaded on the PS4. But on that point about on them just changing so drastically, like I said in the first podcast, when I was growing up and I was playing Resident Evil, it went from 1, 2, 3, all in like I would say a span of 2-3 years. I was playing all or the original trilogy, and then Resident Evil 4 just came out and we bought it, and then when I played it, I got such this like a in my mouth because it was like, what happened to fixed camera angles and all this stuff? I played Code Veronica and I actually liked the style that game had. But I mean, for them to just actually just change it all.
Yeah, I mean, some people's opinion was like, a few I've come across who are adamantly saying the problem was the fact that it was Nintendo exclusive of, essentially, 0, 1 remake and Resident Evil 4, and then also all the ports, RE2, 3, and Code Veronica got ported to Nintendo as well, and that significantly hurt them. And it really is the timing does make sense. Yeah, the sales for those games were pretty poor. Definitely would have done better if it was also on PlayStation, but I guess Shinji Mikami was like adamant that not to get these games ported. So to PlayStation, but that was just I think that was why, the change of the direction was there. It wasn't, I do believe that. I think it was just because it was a Nintendo exclusive. It had poor sales, but I would think that they would. I don't want to say that they would be smarter to see that, but I don't really know, because I don't think they've ever like actually come forward to say like why they changed it. Maybe they have. I don't know.
It's been explained. Shinji Mikami wanted to help with Nintendo's revenue and help them make more money and stuff. So he made several games exclusive to Nintendo, which were Resident Evil games, and there were some other games as well. And Resident Evil Remake did well. It did really good. Resident Evil 0 didn't do as good because, of course, it's 0, the most tedious game in the world. And I guess he got this idea that we didn't like that style of Resident Evil game because it wasn't selling well. None of them were really selling as well as the ones that were back on PlayStation, which were Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. But you got to remember, everybody in the world had a PlayStation.
Yeah,
and there were there were some people. There were some people that were going
like
to
3 of them.
Yeah, there were people going to buy GameCubes just for Resident Evil, a remake 0 and 4. And when they ported Resident Evil 4, Shinji Mikami felt like that went against his honor or whatever, and he ended up walking out.
His honor?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because he was upset that Capcom ported that to PlayStation 2 when people were still buying GameCubes just for Resident Evil 4 and those other games that was exclusive to Nintendo. So he just walked out.
Oh yeah.
And because Resident Evil 4 was ported, 0 weren't ported. Resident Evil 4 just exploded in sales up to like 6 million copies or so, coming up to today. And Resident Evil Remake and 0 never got the chance to see the PlayStation 2. So the series would have been a lot different if they ended up porting those games as well. I mean, we never know. People might like Remake and 0 more than they liked Resident Evil 4, so the series might have been different today if that whole Nintendo thing didn't happen.
And that's a question that we have at the end too. And it was a question from you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just hated how they blamed it all on, this is a dead, or this is like a dead brand or whatever, it needs revamping and everything, when it actually didn't. It was just because it was only ported to one console.
GameCube. It's so annoying.
Yeah. It was the GameCube, a system that not a lot of people had. Like I can only remember every one of my friends had a PlayStation 2, but only like what one or two of them had a GameCube, and that was because they were big Nintendo fans.
Isn't PS2? I saw it was the most selling console. Is that? I can't remember. I remember.
Yeah,
it's definitely sold.
it was
probably one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most sold console of that generation.
And I would contribute that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say I would contribute that to two big things. I know it's not part of the agenda here, but like PlayStation 2 did amazingly well because it was three reasons. It was priced very well. It was probably like a little more than the GameCube, but what you got out of it, you got backwards compatibility to PS1 and a DVD player that during that time.
Yes.
That was unbeatable. I mean, that put Dreamcast out of commission. You know, that was like, I think that's what sealed, Dreamcast fate. I mean, I think there's probably obviously more involved, but PS2 definitely won that era, and it was like a no-brainer. It did not make any sense. It's so funny how it worked out too, because here I am in the 90s. I'm a Nintendo kid. And I'm having to rent Resident Evil because I didn't have a PlayStation 1. I finally get a PS2, and then it goes exclusive to Nintendo. So then I'm like, crap, now I need a GameCube. So it's come on. Like that stuff, this exclusivity stuff, like even with Resident Evil 7, I couldn't get the hands on the demo for 6 months. Just the demo. It was exclusive to PlayStation, PlayStation 4. And it's a killer. I mean, I don't know. It's just, as a customer, it kills me. But I digress. But
yeah, like in all seriousness, exclusivity kills games. Like think of Tomb Raider. Like that was a PlayStation exclusive for the longest time until and out of the blue they went to Xbox and everything, and now it's like. And they expect all these sales on the Xbox. And I'm not dissing the Xbox, but not a lot of people own the Xbox One. But, it's like that hurt the sales of Tomb Raider. And that's basically what happened with Remake and Zero. Not a lot of people had the GameCube. A lot of people bought it. Even though they were amazing games that, that deserved everything that they have, it just was ported to a console that not everybody had.
It's crazy when you think about it that Remake and Zero truly didn't get an actual port. I don't count the Archive 2007 one.
Yeah,
that was
Still
the
GameCube.
Wii. No, I'm not counting that one.
GameCube, Wii.
Literally 2015 and 2016. Like when you think about that, I mean, at least even forget about Zero because it has
Tedious.
Some people love it and some people don't. But Resident Evil 1 Remake didn't get actually ported till 2015. That's insane.
Wow.
And people loved the hell out of that game.
That was right. That was what prompted all the remasters.
Yeah, it was the best-selling Resident Evil, or remaster is the best-selling Resident Evil, I believe.
It
broke records
most
on the download.
or something like that.
Yeah, it was the most downloaded. Sorry, I was getting my stuff mixed up. I thought it was the most bought game on like the once it hit, it was like hitting like high on the charts.
You want to know the best selling Resident Evil game right now?
Oh no,
Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
Then, it's about 10 million.
What's the one next one?
6.
Yep. 5, then 6 are the best selling.
Wow.
4.
Oh, is it then 4? Okay.
I think they're both around like 6-7 million, 4 and 6.
I think Resident Evil 5 is like 7 million. RE6 might be 6 million, and then it goes into the 5 million zone with Resident Evil 4. I think it's something like that, but it's like, here's the thing is, I don't know if Capcom was thinking they want to get on that like Halo Call of Duty money or something, and that must be what they were trying to do, I guess. Just trying to. I tried looking up the sales. It's so hard to find sales numbers on video games. I don't know if there's a real definitive source for that, but it seemed to me that yeah, you got your Halos and your Call of Duty and I don't know what else, other first-person shooters and stuff, but they sell like over 10 million, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But and Resident Evil's always stayed within the I don't think it broke 8 million copies, and I think they were trying to go for that. And my theory has always just been the franchise is big enough for everyone. Okay, like you can do your remakes, retro, the old ways and stuff, just really modernize it as much as you can within that style. You can do over-the-shoulder stuff with your Revelations and side series, whatever. And then the main series can, continue being a survival horror and just keep it reinventing itself and keep relevant to attract people in. And that way, everyone's happy, I think. And in the long run, they will get all the money that they want, basically. And the series won't die.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why they kind of went with, or what they did with 6 was, or 5 and 6 was because of brand recognition. Everybody knows Resident Evil, because it's Resident Evil. So they just made these games and then slapped Resident Evil right on the front, and people buy it. And that's probably why there's
6. They tried to please everyone with 6. It's not that they tried to just sell the name. They tried to please everyone because 6's lore, like I said, is not that bad. And they even have a manga that it's a prequel to 6, and it explains more about Carla, C-Virus, all of that stuff. Like I said before, Ada cloning, and it shows a lot of interesting stuff. It just like if Resident Evil 6 was a book, you would probably like it a lot more than the game, because the gameplay, like the game itself, wasn't executed right. It was just a mess. And then they realized their mistakes, of course, and they went back with 7. I mean, it went far back with 7. And then they went with the original idea they had of making the series first person. Resident Evil would have been first person back in the day, but because the PS1 was so weak, they couldn't do it. Or the earlier versions of the PS1 were so weak, they really couldn't do it. So they had to go fix camera angles and stuff to make up for the hardware limitations.
Right. Next, John, do you know or have a theory on why? I don't know. You know how the Resident Evil 7, the sales, the target sales, well, it was the first quarter of sales, 3 months worth of sales. Their target was only 4 million. I mean, actually, 4 million is still pretty good, but it's still not up there with Resident Evil 2 and 4 in sales. So I'm curious to what your thought is, like. I just don't want to say like they set the bar low with the target there or whatever, but like I don't know. And also, like, it didn't reach the 4 million, and a lot of people say it didn't even reach the target sales, and then I have to say, well, it only missed the target by 500,000 copies, which
that ain't that bad.
I don't think that's really that bad, but a lot of people are like jumping on that, like making it sound like it's Resident Evil 7 was a failure.
Yeah, and it's really annoying because that's in your chat. That's in your chat. Yeah. That's in everybody's chat. That's everywhere.
I've seen that other. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with that, but and you said something like there's. Yeah, I saw that the article too that they expect by the end of the year or so, or another year, it's going to be 10 million sales. But then, so I don't know.
I think that people just left after 6. I don't blame them. I was the same way. People just walked out because of 6. 6, I don't blame. When I pre-ordered 6, and my headphones fell out. Pre-ordered 6, got home, played Leon's. I was like, played Chris's. Not even kidding you, I was crying because I did not understand what the hell I was playing.
Yeah, there's like people shooting. There's like they're shooting all 360 degrees. There's like people shooting at you, but you're like you can't like hide anywhere. That was Chris. That was like the majority of Chris's scenario. I feel it's like it was just like getting barraged with hits. Like, it was so bad.
I don't blame anyone for walking out on Resident Evil 6 and being skeptical about Resident Evil 7. And then they did this bold move, making it first person, which they know is going to upset a lot of the fans that have been here for a really, really, really long time. I mean, my honest opinion, I think those are the vocal minority, but still, it's your fans.
Like, I mean, Resident Evil 6 was the reason why I stopped playing Resident Evil and kind of just gave up on the series for the longest time until like recently, ever since I heard that, you know, the remake was coming 2 years ago, and I was like, all right. I was like, all right. I'll stick with the series again, and let's see where this goes. Haven't gotten news for 2 years. Really pissed about that. Really pissed about not having news for 2 years.
I feel the same way. Like
back with Revelations.
That's why I honestly, that's why I came back on. Like I said, I came back on the wagon the day RE2 remake got announced, and I'm sure that contributed to a lot of sales too of RE7. Like, because I don't know. I mean, it's really, that's the only thing that made me think that Capcom was like finally listening and finally and I don't know. So yeah, it's
but
I can see why a lot of people left.
Yeah, just walking out. Like going back to Resident Evil 6, like the fans think that only people that play Resident Evil 6 were fans. And there is other people that play Resident Evil 6, like people just casual gamers and stuff that play Resident Evil 6. People that play Resident Evil 6 that maybe would have bought Resident Evil 7 if Resident Evil 6 wasn't such a mess. So if Resident Evil 6 was good, Resident Evil 7 would have probably done amazing. It's just so many people just walked out on that mess. Like, God, Capcom, that game was Frankenstein. That was just some kind of something.
I mean, I tried playing it. I think the last time I played RE6 was 2 years ago, almost at this point, because it was right at the beginning of my channel. I was like, and I remember just finishing up with another playthrough. I got to Ada Wong's campaign, and I rage quit during the swimming parts because I cannot play like Leon. I don't know if I think it's just Leon and Ada's scenarios have a swimming section where you have to like actually swim. I couldn't get those controls down. I said, no, I'm done. This is not worth it. Anyway. It's a lot of tedious stuff like that. And that's kind of goes to the bigger point too, is that story is definitely important. But if your gameplay also is crap, you can't. It's got to equally be good. You can't like have great story but bad gameplay, or great gameplay and bad story. That makes no sense and horrible. So, I guess we do have a question in the chat. I don't know if you want. Is it what Spencer says? Yeah.
What do you guys think about the whoring of Revelations? I know what he's talking about too. That's the
oh my god.
The whoring of Revelations.
I'm triggered.
With all the girls in the skimpy swimsuits.
Oh my god, Rachel. That's the first.
Yeah, I know.
Why does Rachel have a fan base, people? What the no, I don't want to
Hold up. Yeah. Why does Rachel have her eyes covered? That's the only thing that I'm.
There are diehard Rachel fans, and I don't understand why. Some people argue that she has a foul. I mean, titties.
Yeah, that's the reason, man.
People are saying that she has a very interesting file. She was supposed to have her own story thing, but that never happened. Stop. So, like, why does she have such a big? She has her fan base is as big as Hunks, probably. It doesn't make any sense. Like, all you have is titties, and she doesn't wash her hair. It doesn't move. It's stiff. It just looks nasty. She looks nasty. I don't know why she has.
And
fans.
then you also have Jessica with the one leg out, like, one leg's covered and the other one's just out there.
Here's a funny thing.
I don't know.
Here's a funny thing. Ada, all these spies that pop up are always better spies than Ada. Jessica actually did really well at surprising everyone.
Oh, that's not what Spencer meant. Oh my god.
I was like waiting.
Oh my god.
But every spy is better than Ada that pops up. Fang, Jessica, everyone.
Oh.
Well, no, I mean it still is a topic to be
Oh.
said. But yeah,
Yeah,
Spencer, I
no,
guess
that
was
is-
Spencer was saying like, and it's kind of true, is the fact that Capcom is yet again, here's another port. I don't think there's anything different with this port of Revelations, and
They added a new raid mode.
oh, I don't even like. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like raid mode. I personally, I don't really enjoy it,
That's
but
about it.
yeah, I'm. But it really is like you can just see. It's like, come on, like here's the thing. This is one of the reasons why I got an Xbox One. I'm really stupid. Didn't really look too far into it, but Xbox One said it was going to be backwards compatible. Little did I know that was going to be rolling out over the span of its life cycle. Okay, so I was like, oh, I can play Xbox 360 games now. No, that's not how it works. So instead of the Revelations 1, which is available on PS3 and Xbox 360. Instead of that being backwards compatible, I guess maybe because PlayStation can't do backwards compatibility, perhaps, but they could. I don't know. I don't know how it all works technically, but yeah, they're yet again wanting what, $20 for basically the same game, and it's the only reason why I would get it is because it's easier to stream, perhaps. But I did buy it on Steam really cheap, so I'll just probably go that route. But it is really just, and look at that brings up another. I'm sorry, but it does bring up another point recently where the PS2 port of Code Veronica, right? That it wasn't even the HD version; it was the PS2 port for $15.
That was terrible.
Like, who is making these decisions? Like,
well, hold up. You know why they won't actually do the backwards compatibility like what Xbox does, right?
Well, I saw something. They said they don't. Yeah, they said their users don't value it. They don't want it.
Which I call total BS on that. Thank you very much, because most of the games that I play are classic games. I barely even touched Resident Evil 7, but I still play Resident Evil 1 and 2, 2 and 3 on my PlayStation Vita every week. Like, like backwards compatibility is really, really something special. And that's basically all I use my computer for as well, is playing emulators and old games like God of War 1 and 2. But I mean, just the comment that they did make about backwards compatibility pissed me off. And the thing was that I have Destroy All Humans. Like, here's the thing: I have Destroy All Humans, but I can't play it because I have to pay extra money to have it. And now they're making us pay $20 to have Code Veronica when it could be backwards compatible. I
did make a big case about that. I think I did give. I wouldn't say I gave Capcom hell about it, because it's just not worth it these days, because they don't listen anyway. But I definitely let my. I just said something like, we're charging us again for a 15-year-old game or something like that, or whatever it is. Technically, I mean, really 2000, Code Veronica mostly, that that version. So what? Yeah, 17 years ago. Really, you're charging me that? It's like, it's insane. It really, I mean, well, I don't even have a PlayStation, but I don't think I would have gotten anyway. So it's really terrible. But yeah, anyway, that's that topic, I guess. I don't know if you have any final thoughts on it.
The way I think of it is that it's good for people that haven't played those games.
Yeah, like I haven't played the Revelations games yet, because I've heard mixed feelings about them. So it was like, I should probably wait until someone tells me it's good or bad, or if I should play them or not.
Revelations 1 is kind of mediocre to me, but
it is soap opera.
Yeah,
mysterious, trying too hard.
And 2?
These hold up. These resells don't bother me because I still have my PlayStation 2, 3, Xbox 360.
Yeah.
A physical copy of every single Resident Evil game besides Gaiden. So I can always just pop in whatever game I want to play and just play it. The only time I rebuy a Resident Evil game is if they added a lot of extra stuff. Like Resident Evil 5, I've always wanted to play No Mercy, but I can't do that on my crap computer, so I just bought Resident Evil 5 again for PlayStation 4. Resident Evil 6, same thing, No Mercy, so I just bought Resident Evil 6 again. Raid mode and Revelations 2, unfortunately. So I'm going to end up buying Revelations 2 or Revelations 1 again just for that new raid mode. Just be a tool and just do that. But other than that, I can probably live without it because I have everything that I want right now.
Yeah. Hold up. So here's the next topic here. Where have they actually done soft reboot things, like added in stuff to the story? One of them I would say is changing Richard's death in Remake 1. And if you're playing as Jill, he gets killed by the Yawn. And if you play as Chris, he gets killed by Neptune, I believe, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking
and
about
adding in the Lisa Trevor story.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
I guess talking about what is has been rebooted. Do we also have the same conversation on what is canon?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
that's too much probably for today. But I'm just laying it out there that the fact that even within, like, for me, what's canon isn't so much exactly the events in which we see it, because obviously, you know, with RE1, you've got Chris and Jill's stories, which you, in your own head, you kind of have to combine both of them somehow, because like exactly like what you see is not exactly what you get. It's like, ultimately, did Richard die? Yeah, he died. Like, that's all I can really extract from that. I don't, you know. So yeah, it's when the game got remade, they took that opportunity to switch things up to keep things a little unpredictable. I think that was pretty much where it ended, I think. And yeah, exactly. He gets either killed by Yawn or Neptune. So I think it's almost just like, if you enjoy Chris's story, then that's how he died. If it's Jill's, and you know the other. But
yeah,
I guess it really is confusing when you think about, like, you know, what's been rebooted. I mean, almost it or what's been retconned and stuff. And like, that's why I find, like, Code Veronica specifically, I find very fascinating, because that's another place where there was a lot of changes. You know, a lot of, well, again, I'm trying to think if there was actual changes or just additions, really, with Code Veronica. Seems like more additions to me, but that's, like, you're asking, you know, yeah, where in the series have they changed stuff like that? Like,
yes,
probably Code Veronica is a good example.
Resident Evil 2 EX files.
Mm-hmm. That's
another
thing.
That's
Yeah, they use that to connect Code Veronica to Resident Evil 2 and connect Resident Evil 3 to Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, and that's something.
Did you say really... 0 or yeah?
Oh, 0 as well. They mentioned James Marcus as well in the files in Resident Evil 2. Yep. I thought that was cool.
So that's the other thing is, and I just watched someone talk about this recently, and they suggest, they're not saying that this is the reason why the X-Files were not ported elsewhere, but apparently it could have been due to the fact that Capcom and PlayStation, their relationships were kind of obviously iffy around the time it became a Nintendo exclusive. So I that's what it's just something that was suggested, but really it doesn't hold any water, because RE2 was ported to GameCube, and the X-Files are only on the N64, and I've tried to be like, is the N64 version the canon? Like, I don't understand. It must be, because
I mean, N64 is the canon.
Yeah, I consider the N64 version to be the definitive edition.
Which is
That's
weird
the
because
canon,
that's the
'cause
one
all
that
of those
probably no
EX
one
files-
has.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those EX files are added just to connect all of those games
Which I do love though.
to Resident Evil 2.
But
Which
which that leads into the next topic. What should, or sorry, you know, where are we at in the Resident Evil story now? Like with everything that's happening, where are we now with Resident Evil 7? This will get spoily, so. But are you talking next gen? What are your you know what I mean, right? Like where are we at now with the blue umbrella and the wait, sorry, what?
Resident Evil 7 is confusing. That's all I gotta say.
There's a lot of holes.
It is so confusing. It is so confusing. Tensu, I'm guessing Tensu is the organization Wesker, the unnamed organization from way back. And the Blue Umbrella is dumb to me because Umbrella has done so much to the world. It's practically destroyed the world. Like their influence on what's been going on is ridiculous. So why would Chris want to help redeem Umbrella?
Well,
it doesn't make any sense to me.
Did you read the see, this is something that could change because Not a Hero got delayed and everything, but I'll bring it up anyway with the airsoft replica gun, right? Of the Albert 01, yeah. And apparently, was it in China or something, Chinese or Japanese? I don't know, but like the translation. Did you read that, and what do you think of that?
I don't remember much of it.
Oh, well, I mean, this is kind of spoilery, I guess, but it really isn't because it could change. Who the hell knows? But apparently, Umbrella that we see at the end of the game with Chris is actually it's a government organization named Umbrella, I guess, with I think former people of Umbrella. It's basically it's founded like it's BSAA. Basically was all against the BOWs. So now what this is going to happen is that they're actually creating BOWs to fight other BOWs. And I'll have to say, I do find that intriguing, but there's a lot of opportunities to screw that up and make it a little too crazy or unbelievable, as you were kind of pointing out. It's like, why is Chris? But I could see that Chris wants to be part of it to make sure that he keeps an eye on it, you know, like keep your friends close but your enemies closer type of thing. So it has potential, I think, but I'm just saying, like, as we talked earlier, it's like Capcom doesn't execute how to tell a story accurately, really, and I am a little nervous about it, but I'll just put out my 2 cents about that. But that's what I heard. They could change it, though. I don't know. So that's that.
Yeah, that sounds all right. It's a bit hypocritical since Chris is his whole life and everybody, they're devoting their life to killing bioweapons and stopping that.
And I'm assuming his motives, though. That's me assuming his motives. I've kind of filled it in with my own interpretation. So if Capcom leaves something like that out, like, it doesn't see, I'm just saying, this is kind of the problem, is that I do love the characters in the story, but the places of opportunity are to really show more of the motives behind the characters, like what's going through their head, what has influenced them, you know, what are they thinking? Like, don't just make us assume what's going on, like just tell us, you know, why is Chris here, you know? So yeah, they need to do that.
Yeah,
that is, when I first heard of that just got me so upset. Like, at least change the name from Umbrella to something else.
Blue Umbrella. It's not Red Umbrella. It's Blue Umbrella.
And of course,
Parasol or something.
They also call they use the Umbrella Corps logo from the Umbrella Corps game.
Because that game's canon for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I mean, it has
we'll get
story
into that
things.
later. We'll
That
definitely get
game-
into that. Jeez, that's a. But the next topic is what could they add into remake 2, and I will add this in remake 3 to change up the story.
That's something I can't really think about. I'm surprised they did that with Lisa in remake.
Dude,
Well,
Lisa's
surprising.
storyline is amazing though.
Yeah,
That-
that's
that's
dark.
I was under the impression, again, I say this a lot, but I swear I had heard that. I don't know about Lisa necessarily, but at least George Trevor and his diary. I thought that was supposed to be included originally. I could be mistaken, but it's a cool idea to think about because you do come across his gravestone in the original PlayStation, 1996 version.
Mhm.
So it does lead you to believe that they were going to include some of the George Trevor storyline, but excluded it. And I think my buddy Spence in the chat has mentioned this before to me personally, like probably at some point speak up. but yeah, so you were saying, what was the original question about RE2 or 3? What were you saying?
What could they add into remake 2 and 3 to change up the story? Like what they did with Trevor and all that. Like to add in stuff for it.
So I definitely a lot of people say, this is an opportunity for like an Ada scenario and a Hunk scenario. That would be great. And there you could have honestly another thing is just stretching out the characters, the time on screen for the characters, like Robert Kendo. You could come across him and he could not die right away. It would be so cool if the city street kind of the lead up to get to the RPD is a little longer, and he's helping you get to the RPD, and then he fucking just dies right when he gets to the RPD. That'd be kind of fun.
The thing was that he actually was supposed to be a side character in 1.5. And they could probably, like, if they could grab some old concepts from 1.5 and they add it into Resident Evil, like, this is giving them a chance to add in stuff that they could never add in, per se.
I think the fine line that Capcom would have to straddle for this to not change the vibe of the game is, I think one of the I remember reading something about 1.5 because there was a section where actually you leave the RPD for a while and you go out to the streets and have to come back or whatever, or you have the ability to go back to the streets, but they didn't do that upon making RE2. I think I read that somewhere because it took away from the isolation. So they wanted you to feel really isolated, like you can't leave the RPD. And so I really I do want more Robert Kendo. I want, more of these characters. And I think it is a good opportunity, but it is a fine line, because you also, like we said, I don't want to change the lore enough where even the original RE2 would be totally retconned. It's all about adding to it. So it's like,
not destroying, adding.
I guess that's my opinion. I don't know.
They can add Robert Kendo because there was a file in the EX or Resident Evil N64 where Robert Kendo was supposed to meet up with Barry, but Barry was out of town. So they can always have him have his own little story where he tries to escape Raccoon City like he planned on doing.
There was a video that
Stone Valley
that I saw that like had that idea, like leading up to the events of Leon and Claire going up to the which one is canon? It's Claire that walks up to Kendo, is it? That's
I'm
the
not
canon
the
version, right?
expert when it comes to like the canon things. I always forget that.
I believe
is the
Claire
canon.
meets Kendo, right?
Claire meets Kendo, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is like they can make a side story, sort of like what we're thinking of for Hunk and everybody. And then they can add in a Kendo scenario where, it's Kendo and he's surviving these streets. And he goes into his gun shop and it all leads up to the, to Claire going up to Kendo, and then he's like, sorry, I keep on forgetting the line. I have to play the game to know the line. But it's what are you doing here?
Who are you? What are you doing?
You know, and then, yeah, who are you? What are you doing?
I'm not a zombie.
Please don't shoot. I'm a human. Yeah. I love those cheesy dialogue. But yeah, like I think that's a really interesting concept. And then they can explain like the mark that's on his arm.
Like they can do the Kindle thing, but it would have to be him, I guess, trying to get to Stone Valley or Stoneville, whatever that thing's called. And then the city's barricaded, so he's like, oh, that's not gonna work. So he returns to his gun shop and he starts handing out guns and stuff. And he ended up giving one of the civilians one of Barry's guns that Barry commissioned. So it'd have been cool. It would be cool if they added something like that where you can get that gun, that Magnum that Kendall was supposed to give to Barry. But Kendall ended up giving that away to a civilian to help them out in this bad situation.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff you can do with this story. It's like it's not even funny, and with all these side characters that have like interesting backstories, like how Kendo knows Barry and all this. You know, it's really really awesome. Here's some stuff that I was thinking of. Adding in some files that talk about how the RPD was an art museum. I don't. Which Chronicles game was that? Or no. It was the Chronicles. It was Operation Raccoon City File 2, was it? That was placed with Marvin.
Chronicles.
Outbreak. You're thinking, yeah, Outbreak.
Yeah, where the female cop has to like go underneath, like the statue and everything,
which was
try to find out help.
Which was kind of crazy, but I do like that kind of thing. Like, you know, years later, that scenario comes out and it's like, oh my god, there was a secret passage under there all along. Wow. But I mean, I mean it's kind of weird, but like I liked it, and yeah, that was kind of cool though.
And you know, they can explore more onto the the RPD being that, or being like an art museum and everything, like how they say it was. Like that was such an interesting concept, and I wanted them to elaborate more on it.
I think there's a file about that in Resident Evil 2.
Oh, is there?
An art museum, yeah.
It might be a blurb. I cannot remember.
Something about God.
Oh God!
Like the secretary's diary, because there's a couple secretary diaries.
They talk about that.
That explains all the artwork that Brian Irons is purchasing, but I think there might have been something in there that mentioned it was a art museum or something to that effect.
Yeah, because I vaguely remember that.
But yeah, another thing is give Martin and Kendo more screen time, because you know in Outbreak he was playing the hero in all of like the Outbreak. You know, he was fending off the zombies while they were trying to get away in the van and everything. You know, I think that they should give Marvin some more time, or some more whatchamajigger. How do I say that? Like at least give him more files, like some like his diary or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't think there would
be much room. I don't think there would be much room to really give him his own thing.
Yeah,
he's basically on death's door when you meet him. So it's like, I would say this though, with a RE2, and hopefully that would be great if it all works out well. RE3 remake, perfect opportunity to clean up that story or that timeline, because there's a little iffy stuff with if the Outbreak scenario is canon. That supposedly happens right before Leon and Claire get there, but then RE3 is before even that, and Marvin's already mortally wounded. Yeah, so
he's knocked out.
He's been mortally.
Well, his chest is like bit up though.
It was 2 days that he's been sitting there and dying, right? Because Jill was knocked out for 2 days. Was it?
She was knocked out. Yeah.
Well, so RE3, yeah, starts out on September 28th. That's when Jill runs across them. And then the next day, the 29th,
Oh my
is
God,
when
Kevin moved.
Leon and Claire get there. So it's been probably a day, but I don't know. I think what's kind of screwed things up maybe was the Outbreak scenario because, well, I've also seen people say that the if you've played Outbreak, usually each scenario is tailored to one of the characters, right? So that was Kevin's scenario. If you play Outbreak as Kevin, it has there's like a little Easter egg. People say it's not canon,
Yep.
I think. There's an Easter egg that when you finish with Kevin on that scenario, the van you're driving away from the RPD, there's a police car going the opposite way, and it's assumed
I did
that it's Leon and Claire. So that's what connected me was like, oh, so this is supposed to be right before Leon and Claire, but how is that possible? Because
with Jill.
Jill was the day before. So I don't think I feel like they just think it goes for some other game creators as well. It's like they just try to make the gameplay better first or good first, and then they worry about story and continuity, and then they don't realize like, oh, there's some holes here. So I don't know. I'm just saying like a remake would be great for cleaning it up.
I can't really comment on Foul 2 or many of the Outbreaks as I haven't played those in so long. I've only read through the files. Foul 2, I'm not too familiar with Foul 2 other than the files.
They still need to make Foul 3. Like, no joke.
I don't know what they could do with Foul 3.
More,
they claim
college,
to
college.
What was that?
College. Just do it on the college, like what they were going to do with 1.5. Make the story of 1.5 into Resident Evil Outbreak 3.
There has to be a lot of scenarios, so that's going to be a short game.
Well, I don't know if you heard the recent podcast that Allison Court, you know, she was, I think, the producer or some kind of capacity she had with making the Outbreak games. And originally there were supposed to be 40 scenarios, and then what the only games that got the game between File 1 and 2, the only scenarios that got released were I think like 10 scenarios. But she did say they actually did work on 10 additional scenarios that did not get released. And there are there's beta images and some video from the early days of development with that game. So I wouldn't think Capcom would get rid of that stuff, but there is some complications with maybe it's not finished. It is from the PS2 era. It also is so Outbreak is so let's say designed for a more archaic kind of multiplayer. You know, it was really ahead of its time. You know, it was Outbreak was the reason why my family actually got high speed internet. You know, before then I had dial-up. And you could, I'm serious. Like that was a motivate, like Resident Evil is like the motivator of my life, like every decision, I swear. So it's just, there's no way you could do dial up with that. So you couldn't even, the first month, you couldn't even play Outbreak, you know, even with high speed internet. It was just servers were crashing all the time and stuff. I still remember. But yeah, I mean, so it's a little iffy to think that, because there is a big push and people do want a File 3, and especially that people want a remaster of some sort of the first two. So it's just like, I've also thought about a part of this reboot discussion that we're having. Maybe it's a perfect opportunity as well to not only remaster but do remakes of Outbreak, modernize the whole thing to a point where, I mean, again, it's
where it all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, where it makes sense in the timelines and the stories, but yeah, because maybe remastering the PS2 stuff, they might have to remake it, and I don't know. There's a lot of people would be really great. I mean, could you imagine like just Raccoon City nowadays in a
modern sense?
Yeah.
There's also like I have a bunch of these. Like it, Here's what bothered me the most about Resident Evil 2 and 3, because I knew that Resident Evil, when I was young, I was playing Resident Evil 3, and I knew it was a prequel to Resident Evil 2. Because, you know, I just had the feeling, and then my you know, my stepdad actually told me, yeah, it's a prequel and everything. And the thing was that I never got is, why are the windows boarded up in Resident Evil 3, and then everything's perfectly normal in Resident Evil 2? Like
think
that's
about that too much.
like
Yeah,
like,
the thing is Resident Evil just has never been like a what you see is what you get in terms of canon. It even started with the first game. Like, how the hell is Rebecca and Richard behind a locked door that I needed to get the key from a dog? You know, or I had to get the invitation key to go upstairs to get the real key. Like, and yeah, you know, these characters are behind doors, or it's like, there's a lot of events that just are like, you know what? It's like, it's just this way of storytelling, and right. So barricading those doors is like, it's just how to prevent you. I guess it's just for aesthetic reasons too. I guess they're just going for this kind of like prequel vibe in RE3, because it is right before RE2. So they want to make things look a little different without just saying, oh, the door's locked, you know? So I don't know. I kind of just chalk it up to that, but yeah, I mean, and I think it goes more to the point too, is that over time, I see this trend of just like over time, games have been trying to be more consistent with their canonity. Is that a word? I don't know. But they're trying to make things more sense for people, and because I feel like the early days, it was just like, it's just a game, it's just this. They weren't like really. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, it would just, yeah.
And it would give them like a chance to actually fix all that too. And it, you know, like that was something that just kind of bothered me when I was younger. It was like, I know this is a prequel, but you know, why are all these things boarded up and everything? But I mean, like there's another one, which is in the beginning of Resident Evil 3, when you go to the warehouse and you know you're talking to Dario and he's like, I just lost my daughter out there. I kind of want them to make like a Dario storyline where like add in to his journal like about his daughter dying. You know, because you know, when I read that, when I read that when I was younger, it kind of broke my heart, because he was like, he wanted to be like this guy, you know, who wanted to be a novelist.
Oh yeah.
He had all these big dreams and never got to do them because, you know, he was stuck in the town. But, you know, if they added in like a storyline where you actually find his daughter or whatever, like coming up as a zombie, and he comes with you and he survives.
I don't want no babysitting.
No. And it's his daughter that eats him in the beginning. Like he decides to go out with you, and then once you get right out those doors, he sees his daughter and then freaks out and then gets eaten by her.
So like a Walking Dead thing.
Yeah, that like, yeah, it's exactly like that'd be some pretty fucked up shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Season 1 of The Walking Dead, the kid's mom died, and he sees his mom later on as a zombie.
Yeah,
that was sad.
Who was that? It was
I watched Morgan's son.
Yeah, Morgan's son. Yeah, okay. And Morgan's son dies because he got eaten.
Yeah, he got bit by a zombie.
Yeah.
He got bit by the mom.
Yeah, he got eaten by his mom. So it was like,
yeah.
But yeah, like I always thought that would be like add in some more for Dario, because I always found him to be like this kind of tragic character, and I, you know, add more tragedy in it. Let him get eaten by his daughter.
Too much.
But
I never really cared about the minor characters too much.
But I did want to ask you guys this. Do you think that they should have an A/B scenario in Resident Evil 2 remake? Do you think they should have an A/B scenario?
They're probably gonna, if they do it, they're probably gonna make you pay for it, knowing Capcom.
Everything DLC.
It's gonna be a season pass. Get A and B, get B scenarios. Pre-order now. I don't know.
Like
Something.
what do you think, Talk?
Well, honestly, back in the day when I knew RE1 was getting remade, I was thinking they were definitely going to make one canon, just kind of like how they did with RE2. I thought they were going to do something like, okay, maybe Jill gets through the front door, or maybe Chris comes through some other way in the mansion, and they're revolving around each other. But yeah, it wouldn't make sense, I guess. But I just thought that, okay, this is a good opportunity to make sense of all that. They didn't do that. They continued to do the same exact kind of formula as the original with that. So if they do the same thing, yeah, they're probably going to do the same like A/B scenarios and 4 scenarios, you know. Though it's really unpredictable. Personally, I think that they should concentrate probably just doing a Claire A, Leon B, and make them longer and make them more make everything bigger within that, and don't do because really I'm trying to think what I would really like. I don't know if this is part of the same question, but I'll say it anyway. But good opportunity for I think that this remake can expand upon the zapping system, can expand upon also the idea that Leon and Claire are not doing the same puzzles. It'd be very great if they have very unique storylines and also unique puzzles, so they're not doing the same thing. And that would definitely, is another thing, you don't need the other 2 scenarios, the non-canon scenarios. You don't need them. I mean, you could do some other mode, you know, randomized crap or whatever, but
that's the reason why we want like the Ada Hunk scenarios so much. It's like, you know, we don't need an A/B scenario. We can just have the Leon story and then have the Claire story, where Claire goes through Kendo's gun shop and then goes to the front of the hall, which is canon, and then Leon goes the other way and goes to the back of the police station, and then and meets Claire in the STARS office. We don't need the other, you know, scenarios and stuff, and we can have the Hunk and Ada scenarios, you know, the prequel to what happened to Hunk with the extracting the G virus, and and how Ada got into the police station.
See, I would like that. That's what I would like to. Just a long Leon campaign, long Claire campaign. Now, also, like, people bring up co-op in Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm like, what?
No,
that's no. But the one thing I would accept is what they did with 6 with the intersection. Like, maybe give like, if you, like, say you're playing Leon's campaign, and someone's playing Claire, and you on those points where you meet up with that player, say that you meet up with an actual player and maybe give you the ability to like trade each other for a little bit.
Ooh.
Or something like that. Or let's say
there's
there's boss fights or something going on, and let's say Leon's in the area or Claire's in the area, you can run and maybe help that player out for a bit from a distance or something like that. I thought that I think that would be cool.
That would be really cool. I like that.
Yeah, so
it's too good though. Capcom will go with it. Sorry.
But it's not co-op. You're not
the
person not there all the time, just run into each other on these certain areas like Resident Evil 6. You can help each other out somehow, trading something.
But another thing is another thing is that they should change the intro of Resident Evil 2 to have because
Claire riding
no. I'm saying like there was so much destruction in Resident Evil 3,
Claire, what? Your mic just
You
died.
cut off. Yeah.
Oh, he's a zombie now. Gotta mercy him.
I never saw him again.
Jesus. Okay, sorry, my mic. Something happened, but no, like there was so much destruction in Resident Evil 3, and then in Resident Evil 2, you have Claire and Leon going in here like, huh, this is a perfectly nice town. Nothing has ever happened to this town. Like they just go in like they're.
Oh, rip again.
Lost you again. We are having technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There. Finally. Sorry. But no, there was so much destruction in Resident Evil 3 that it would be really confusing if they did a Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake without having the destruction of Resident Evil 3 in Resident Evil 2's intro, if you know what I mean.
And the thing that bothered me in the intro is that Claire just rides on in the city when there's files, there's EX files and stuff. Even in 3, talking about the city being barricaded, and there's no way in or out. Meanwhile, Claire just drives right on it. Barry couldn't even get into this.
Barry couldn't even get in.
Yeah, Barry couldn't even get in the city. He tried to get in the city to help Jill out. He couldn't, so he had to get a SWAT helicopter and fly into the city, or just get a helicopter with the thanks of some dude. I can't remember the dude's name or whatever, but he got a helicopter, got into the city, and he helped Jill out after getting in contact with Carlos.
Yeah. I don't know. That just, see, that just makes no sense whatsoever because like they did have the city on lockdown.
Yeah, they really need to fix those little things.
Yeah,
I don't know. Being boarded up and stuff. They really need to fix that. And the city being destroyed because 3 is before 2 and after 2. They really need to work on that.
It's a sequel prequel.
Yeah.
Is what Resident Evil 3 is.
Yeah, because when Jill's in a hospital, or not hospital, when she's knocked out in the church, that's when Resident Evil 2 is going on.
Another thing that I had where they can change it up is I want them to have journals in the lab tell the horrifying stories, just like the Resident Evil 1 Closet Zombie. Like, you know, like I said, or a lot of these files that I read, they're really fucking depressing.
They are. They're really good.
Actually read them. But was there any lab, or was there any journals in the lab that, you know, said that that explained what the hell was going on?
Honestly, cannot tell you, because what I do is I go on Resident Evil Wikipedia and I just read all of the files.
So you're
when I'm playing the games. When I'm playing the games, I pick up files every once in a while. I think the only game that I actually sat down and actually hunted down every single file was Resident Evil 0. All the other ones I just went online and just read the files.
Resident Evil 2. So you're asking, when you get into labs, does it explain? Resident Evil 2 to me, like the way the story unfolded is actually a lot through more dialogue, really, with Annette. You know, Annette that really in the sewer when you meet her either as Ada or Claire. That whole cutscene really explains the majority of what was going on. I'm trying to think if there's any other points of mystery or whatever that maybe some files. I know that there's
the liquors.
Well, like what I'm saying is like what am I thinking of? Like their personal experiences in the lab. Now I know they had one in Resident Evil 3. I forget which file it was, but it was I forget the part 2. I think it. Well, like they told this like horrible story about like he has to work and all this stuff, and they're doing this like really weird shit, and then he ends up killing himself with a bullet.
Yeah,
like with a bullet to the head.
I just played Remake the other day, and Remake is definitely a prominent amount of journals about like this regret and remorse, and up from all the quite a few of the scientists or whatever. And to be honest, Resident Evil 2, actually, I really don't recall any files of by the researchers that really. A lot of the files are like, like the talking about the the antivirus sprinkler system, or talking about the antivirus, how to make that. There's an X file that talks about the mother virus in our N64 version.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what James Marcus, right?
Probably. I think that's one. It might have been. God, I know. I just read this last month, but it does talk about the mother virus. So I guess that there's. Yeah, it's probably James Marcus related, I think, on that one. Gosh, what else is down there? But yeah, I don't recall any like personal journals or anything like that. It says like the passcode is to the fingerprint system. I mean, there's an interesting X file also for Code Veronica that talks about the Antarctic base. They're trying to acquire some kind of chemical, and so they have to work with the Antarctic base to get that chemical or something like that. Like, there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
There's a sad file in Resident Evil 2 on the bus.
Yeah, hold up. What Spencer says is actually kind of interesting. What do you guys think about the audio journals being in?
Talking about like the Wesker report, Jessica report, and stuff.
Oh, you mean like
Dead Space?
Well, I was thinking, like someone sitting down and doing audio recording instead of a diary. So it's basically audio diary, I guess.
Yeah, like Dead Space. You just touch a diary and somebody reads it to you. You don't have to.
That was in 1990s, right? Cassette players where you can record your own voice. Just have it in places where it would make sense.
Straight up like Dead Space. Yeah,
that would be interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah, Dead Space did a good job with that. You see something like an interesting file or whatever, you just click on it, and you can just keep playing the game, and somebody will narrate the whole thing to you.
Yeah. Like that's a really interesting concept. But in my own opinion, I do think they should add in personal stories.
I mean, there's some in Resident Evil 2. One of them being it's Dario diary, and that's on a bus where a person talks about being trapped in a city and what would happen if they die, if the U.S. military would just look at the corpse and start laughing at the person because of what happened to him. Like, that person was so worried about what would happen, like how would they die at this and this.
Yeah, I think that is Dario's journal, because I think that's the same one in Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, that's in Resident Evil 3 as well.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. But I only have three more points. Explain how the fuck Nikolai is still alive, because I've heard that Nikolai is still alive.
He's still alive. The canon, he steals the helicopter that Carlos finds. He steals the helicopter. Yeah, he escapes with that. So the non-canon ending, of course, he dies. So he was with the UBCS, which was like a thing, like a program to collect combat data on the irregular mutants and crap going on in Raccoon City. And Nikolai was a part of a group of people that were responsible for returning that data to Umbrella, and they would get money for that. So what Nikolai did, he killed everyone that was a part of that program, stole all of their data before escaping the city. So we don't know what happens after that. He's just gone.
Yeah,
which is like, don't get me started. Oh, I mean, it was a lost opportunity, because Nikolai, I felt, was a great villain. They could have done more with Nikolai, but
he's probably dead now. That dude was old.
Oh yeah, well now he's dead. Well, again, furthermore, the point of a reboot, you know what I mean? And that was a lost opportunity. If you could follow up more games with him, it would be maybe. Well, they're two different. Maybe are they two different with the UBCS and the USS, I guess. So you could get like a
USS is
hunk.
Stupid
and-
ass ORC crap. Well, USS is canon, but just USS
Oh,
just makes me
I
think
thought
of
hunk
ORC.
was USS. I thought that was.
USS. UBCS is the umbrella security countermeasure biohazard response something insert.
Umbrella bio counter.
They're supposed to.
something,
They're like the stars. They're supposed to just help evacuate people. But they're not really a thing. They're just a mercenaries group, and they just slapped on UBCS.
Okay.
And they were just guinea pigs. They're just guinea pigs to help the people that actually worked with Umbrella. The people that actually worked with Umbrella were a part of the UBCS, I guess, in disguise, just to collect combat data on what the UBCS mercenaries were doing, like how the mutants would fight with them and stuff like that. They would just collect that information. And Nikolai, being the just screwed up dude he is, it's like, maybe if I kill these people, nobody would ever know because nobody's watching them. So if I kill all of these dudes, take all of this stuff with me and sell it, I'll make a lot more money. And then this dude has so much information on like brain suckers, nemesis, a gravedigger, all of this stuff. So if he were to come back as a villain, he would probably have one of the most interesting bioweapons, virus, who knows? But then they just decided to just get rid of him. He just disappears. And back in the day, Nikolai was my #1 favorite character because for some reason I love villains. And I always thought he was interesting, especially his little backstory and stuff he had in the outbreak scenarios. Like I love Nikolai.
Yeah, Nikolai was a really good villain, and like they missed a lot of opportunities to make him like this like amazing badass.
Mm-hmm.
And then you never hear from him again. And that's the same with Carlos as well. It's like you don't hear anything about Carlos. Like, does Joe even mention him in some of the new games?
You'll never mention that dude ever again. And fun fact, Hunk and Nikolai had a rivalry.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why don't they?
And then Nikolai and Hunk, they're just gone. They just bring Hunk back for like, here's Hunk.
Like mercenaries.
Like an extra mercenaries mode. Buy the game because Hunk is here. And then Nikolai just gone. The only last time we saw Nikolai was like ORC.
Yeah, and that's
2012.
That's not even a canon game. Yeah, that's not even a canon game.
And then he looks like a pedophile.
Okay,
he looks so bad.
Even though I do kind of like, and don't hate me on this, I do kind of like Operation Raccoon City. They fucked up with a lot of stuff, especially with Nemesis with his stars. Like I was like,
stars.
He was like, it wasn't like Resident Evil 3 where it's like stars.
Don't even get me
It's more like
stars. Like, ORC triggers me because they have crimson heads.
I'm sorry, what?
They have crimson heads in ORC. Can they at least try to stay close to the lore? Like I know it's like a what if scenario, but crimson heads don't belong in Raccoon City. They weren't there because Birkin took the VX strain from the first game. He took that to Raccoon City, improved upon that, which he made like an E strain, which is completely different from how zombies mutated if they were incapacitated. So instead of becoming crimson heads, they became lickers. Both lickers and crimson heads in ORC, just making that game just ridiculously hard for no freaking reason.
But
and it's just triggering because I like the Resident Evil lore to a degree.
Yeah, and I would like them to add in a scene for Remake 3, where where you meet Brad in the bar, and he's getting bit by the zombie, and you could choose whether to help him or not. I would like them to where if you don't help him, he sarcastically says, "Thanks for the help" or something like that. Like just something to like nod that the player did something or did not do something.
I like to flip that on that dude. On that scene, I run between him and the zombie. And the zombie, like, that's funny because the zombies, as it's about to bite you, he always shoots it off, so you don't take damage. And it's just funny doing that. So he's just there to save me. I always do that. Just run between him and that zombie. I mean, you can also just as soon as that cutscene happens, you can just turn around and just leave.
Yeah.
And then a cutscene pops up where he actually kills somebody. And then it teleports you near the lighter. Or the lighter fluid, whatever.
Yeah. The what is it? Hold up. Sorry. And the last note I do have is explain how the fuck Umbrella Corps is canon. And like Resident Evil said in his video, said in his video, how in any way is that canon?
Because in previous Resident Evil games, they mention all of these different organizations doing all of these things. So it's safe to assume that there's other organizations out there trying to do the same thing Umbrella was doing back in the day. Like all these people competing against Umbrella. Now that Umbrella's gone, all of these companies want to try and get what Umbrella left behind.
So
the
like
same thing for Tricell and whatnot.
And Will Pharma from Degeneration?
Degeneration. So
Right.
Tricell left a lot of stuff behind. Umbrella left a lot of stuff behind. Neo Umbrella left a lot of stuff behind. Glen Ares already got a hold of Neo Umbrella and Tricell's leftover stuff. But these other companies want to be another Umbrella. And right now in the Resident Evil universe, what's going on since Umbrella's gone and Wesker's gone and all of this stuff is competing against each other to become next. Resident Evil can actually go on forever. Because there's really going to be no end unless somebody creates like this super antivirus that you can just drop like they did in Resident Evil, the shit chapter, and just destroy every single virus infected thing in the world.
You know what they should do? You know what they should do? They should place a Resident Evil game in the year, let's say 2100, 2150, and it's on Mars. And we'll still have some zombie apocalypse shit.
Yep, that's literally.
It's gonna keep going. It's just gonna, and then we'll go to
don't give Capcom any ideas. Don't let them go Call of Duty's route.
Honestly, the series can go on forever.
We'll have people with chainsaws attached to their arms with robotics and stuff, Jason X style.
Some people want a Resident Evil game back in like 18 something or 17 something. I'm like, that's not really it's possible, but not possible.
Like, it would kind of not be possible. But I mean that would be scarier. No joke. That'd probably be the scariest fucking thing that I've.
When I saw that, there's only one active virus at that time, which is the progenitor virus, and that virus was only active in one country, which is Africa. And the Napaya clan.
I'm playing Resident Evil 5. Sorry.
The Napaya clan were using that. They were using that as a way to fight off other tribes. So like tribesmen would just eat the plant, and if they died, they died. If they didn't die, they became like Wesker. They became like a superhuman. And they would also feed these flowers to animals and make like primitive bioweapons to fight other tribes as well. So if they made like a Resident Evil game way back then, it would have to be in Africa. And then maybe it can end, huh?
Could it be something though, just a different virus type of thing that, because the concept of Las Plagas existing in the same universe could another virus.
True. That's true. Las Plagas did exist for a really long time. So they can do that as well.
Yeah.
But I would prefer the Progenitor Chronicles, call it that, and then have that end with Spencer, Brandon Bailey, James Marcus coming to Africa and then taking over the Stairway of the Sun, and then just end it there.
Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. Like they can make a third Chronicles game.
And just Progenitor Chronicles.
Yeah, Progenitor Chronicles. But yeah, and like the last note that I do have is like they with this they can add in so much stuff, that where in like the canon you actually have to kind of just dig, you have to look on the internet and stuff and everything. It's like, why go through all that when you can just read it all in the game? Just don't tell us like this and this happened in like an intro of a game. Just give us more insight
I
and
hate
detail.
when Capcom does. Well, they don't do it anymore, but back in the day, they would just put this like canon information in these Japanese guides that we can't get our hands on. So we have to wait for somebody to translate it and then put it on the internet. Like, come on, Capcom. This is why people are just so confused about your series, because you just want to make everything like Japanese, like important bits Japanese exclusive. And it's so annoying.
And it's not really advertised from what I know. Like, it's like people just don't even know it's out there.
Yeah. And then when you have a conversation with like a hardcore lore dude, and you say something, he's like, no, that's not right. And then you're like, oh, where did this come from? And like, here's this guidebook, and you open it. You're like, what is this scribble? I don't read Japanese.
I wonder why that is. Why they have it. I don't know.
Because that used to happen to me back in the day. Because back in the day, I would just read everything that we had here in America, and apparently, I wasn't even close to what Resident Evil really is about.
Well, that's what gets me nervous, is that the further you move away from an actual game, and it's like a book or a guidebook or a description of an airsoft gun, for God's sake, or something. I feel like here's the thing. I guess I come from also a background where, like, when I got Code Veronica X, I think it was only for people that pre-ordered it, got the Wesker's report. I watched that thing on repeat every day. That shit got retconned. Mad retconned.
Yep.
And I was pissed, I will say, because I was so looking forward. I loved that Wesker's report. I really thought that it, so in Wesker's report, Sherry was kidnapped by Wesker from his organization, and they were going to be experimenting with her. Leon is a part of a anti-umbrella organization, which some people could argue, well, that's maybe it could be a function from the government, but I don't think that's what was implied. I think it was an actual separate entity. So there was a few things that got totally retconned from that. I mean, and that's the thing. At that point in time, that was canon, from my understanding. But then it's like, well, because it wasn't in a game, it was just an extra, and it was read by the Richard Waugh, I think, the actor for Wesker. So it's not like they got some other. Douglas? No, it was the guy who did Code Veronica.
Oh, that dude. Oh,
yeah. So he had it was like a 20-minute. I can't remember. Maybe it was a 10-minute. I can't remember. But it's a really good thing to watch. But it's totally irrelevant now. So that's what I remember that, and that was one of the first things that discouraged me from taking to heart things that are not in the game. Yeah. And I just felt like, why am I going to waste time digging through all this, reading through this stuff, if they're just going to be like, well, it was just a guidebook, and whatever. And it's like, well, then don't put it out there, I guess. I don't know. So that's my thoughts.
I usually don't care what people really say about the games, but when you say something dumb, when it's literally right there in the game, like somebody joined my stream a while ago, and he said Jill Valentine has superhuman abilities in Resident Evil 5 because she was infected with the T-virus in Resident Evil 3, and I shook my head.
What?
I was just shaking my head. Like, my neck almost snapped. I was like, what? I just respond on the stream like, what? And I'm like, the file, like the thing on her chest, like all of that's in Resident Evil 5. You can just read all of that. The thing on her chest is the P30 device, and it pumps a chemical into her body so Wesker can control her. Since why would she listen to Wesker? And then the T virus was extracted from her body to make Ouroboros less poisonous, thus upping the percentage of everyone else in the world turning into other Weskers, with Wesker, of course, being the strongest of his kind. So that's stuff like that just bothers me, because all of that stuff is in the game. When people say stuff like three founders of Umbrella or whatever, that stuff I get because that's deep stuff. So that doesn't really bother me. But stuff that's in the game and people mess up, that just annoys me.
Well, it's more to the point. Like for me, if this permeates through my entire life of being unsure of anything that I've ever read. I'm always like, I forgetful and stuff like that. I'm okay, and this is what I do. When I'm talking about lore and I'm not 100%, even if I'm 99%, I still will say I think, or I think this is what it was. But some people just are like, no, this is what happened, even if it's wrong. And it's like, I don't know. I have bad experiences when I'm so sure of something that's not right, and I never will do that again. So yeah, it's very frustrating when you want to have conversations with people, but then it's it's like a brick wall you're just smashing your head against because you can't. Yeah,
it's fun talking about Ari and stuff, but it's just hard when people just think they're so sure that they're right. Like the dude I was talking about, Jill being infected with the T virus, and then which gave her superhuman abilities in 5. And there's another dude that was talking about like the T Abyss was created by Ouroboros. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like stuff like, and then you try to educate them or whatever, and they're just so sure that they're right. It just gets really, really annoying. But that's it with me. What else we got?
Did we lose?
Did we lose you?
We lost him again. Well, he's playing RE5 too.
I was about to say that's also a problem in the Mortal Kombat community as well. Yeah, I just like when people tell me that Bihan, which is the first Sub-Zero, actually killed Sub-Zero's family and clan. I'm like, no, that did not happen. Shut up. But yeah, okay, so next topic is, how can the soft reboot affect the series altogether? Like let's say if they did remake of 2 and 3, and then they remade 4 to what you guys said that you kind of wanted. Like, the story's all right, but just fix the gameplay to where it feels more atmospherical and horror-like. Would you? How do you think if they did that, how would it affect the series altogether?
I just have to say, like, as far as a reboot, like, if we're doing remakes up to the point, someone had just brought to my attention recently what the 3.5 was going to be like. That was the prototype, I guess, for Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, I saw you retweeted that. Yeah,
it was this guy. He was I guess there was some information from Rely on Horror a while back, where they got some story points from what Resident Evil 4 was originally going to be. Everything except for the hallucination thing, I was like, I was down for, because there's Resident Evil 4 originally, Leon was infected, I guess, and it was
Progenitor, yeah.
Yeah, with Progenitor. And the game, the big focal point of the game is that you're going in and out of hallucinations. And then it gets to a point where Leon doesn't really even know what's real or what's not anymore. But there was some really cool, I'm trying to bring it up.
He had like a super arm. He had a mutated arm.
Is that?
Later on in the game, his arm transforms into some blue thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe you know.
Yeah, I did. I did. Either.
Honestly, I stayed away from that stuff. I mean, I do enjoy betas and stuff, but it's kind of depressing when you are like, oh, that's what could have been. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so there's some
PT.
really cool aspects because it seemed like a really good sequel to Code Veronica. I guess Claire and Chris were going to be in the game in some capacity. So that would continue on with, Code Veronica, obviously. Where is that tweet? Oh man, it was like last week.
Yeah.
There was some real,
Like-
but what I'm saying is, you could take it that far and go back to those story points. I'm not saying get rid of all the Las Plagas arc at all and all that stuff, but maybe it has more of a minimal part in the series instead of the focal point. Just throwing that out there. So that could definitely affect the series for sure, because the point of the Las Plagas was to give really an excuse to not have slow-moving zombies and not just to have them eat you, but to wield weapons and throw them at you and all this crazy shit. And then eventually that was the problem in RE5. It evolved into them having guns. That was,
God.
yeah. I loved in
Fire
RE6 the
is
zombies
so
that
annoying.
like shoot around aimlessly. That's lovely.
No, the accuracy is better than yours.
Right.
The magnums. Like, what kind of zombie? Like, oh my! I'm playing No Mercy on Resident Evil 6. There's like 5 Magnum zombies in the corner. I get hit once, fall to the ground, and they just juggle me. They're just all juggling me. I can't even get up. I'm just bouncing from one side of the screen to the other.
I've never played the No Mercy or whatever. Yeah, I've never.
Then I almost died, and my friend had to come save me. I could not get up. I was stun locked by zombies with guns. I'm like, is this for real?
But in my honest opinion, if they do this, and how would it affect it? If they add in the stuff like I said in the last topic, just more files and more explanation of what happened to these characters like Nikolai and Carlos. I think it would give a whole new light to the series, a dark light that is, but a whole new light to the series, and add in more mystery and suspense to the story. And it would add in new stuff, or add in stuff for people who are brand new to the game, and for all the hardcore fans, it would add in something amazing if you get what they are actually talking about. If you read any of the files or anything.
To add on to the. So I found the information. This came from Rely on Horror. Like Resident Evil 4, this was supposed to be. It stars Leon after events of Code Veronica. Leon was off to rescue Sherry Birkin. Chris and Claire played some role in the story. Leon tracks down an Umbrella facility that is the cradle of the mother virus. In Europe, zombies are in the estate, but are not the problem. Some kind of zombie killer in the mansion. Various settings described in a few puzzle. Let's see here. Hookman apparently would mutate further and further upon meetings into a more foggy monster. So yeah, there was this hallucination thing going on. And then just Leon would become very, very scared. And it says Leon, he'd begin to question his own insanity, and whenever he was seeing was dark and supernatural, seeming as he saw it. Wow, that sentence made no sense. Wow. But yeah, he was kind of just going insane. And so it's a real darker tone to Leon, where that's a big impact too, where because in Resident Evil 4, as we know it, he's the total opposite. He's not questioning his sanity. If anything, he's cocky and confident and going in kind of guns a-blazing and sarcastic as all hell. And I really like that. I still really like that. But I really like the darker stuff too. So I don't know. I mean, I think a reboot could have a big impact on the series. So
yeah, it fits so much better. The darker tones, and then they just like crazy.
That's more interesting. It's way more interesting. I think.
But the last topic before we get to like the question is would it be a good idea to have a soft reboot for the series?
I would love
as
it
a whole?
because I want to see Nikolai. I want to see them continue Nikolai. That dude just vanished. I want to see the proper fall of Umbrella, not this rail shooter nonsense. I want.
Oh, sorry.
I want so much stuff they could have done, but then Resident Evil 4, then God, Shinji Mikami just triggers me. With this Nintendo exclusive, then you have people just praising him being the savior of Resident Evil, which I don't understand. That did the whole Nintendo exclusive, which got the series where it is now. All action packed and Capcom trying to do their best to turn it down.
And here's the problem nowadays is that these games do take more than a year or two to get released, and trends in the gaming industry do change over time. So the longer it takes a game to come out, by the time it comes out, it's like that style of gameplay is no longer like, think about when Resident Evil 5 finally came out. It was the first game to be co-op in the series. I don't count Outbreak, that's a multiplayer, but Resident Evil 5 is co-op. I mean, there was already like 4 years of co-op games that were, and it was like Resident Evil 5 is like where it was late to the party for the first time. Before that, set the trends. It was a leader, but then Resident Evil 5 was the first time it was like, we've been doing co-op over on this series for a long time. Where have you been? So that does work. I guess that would be probably one of the downfalls of a reboot is the changing of trends in gaming and keeping up with that stuff, and maybe they seek fans like me who do like the retro style of gameplay, like the tank controls or all that stuff. I mean, maybe they see that is a smaller target audience, that they're not going to profit as much or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it sucks that we have to let those realizations sink in. But as far as on a personal level, like if I didn't have to think about sales or anything like that, Reboot would be, I think it should be done, because there was a lot of lost opportunities, and sometimes it's just better to just start over. And now you have the framework. You can now tweak it. You can improve upon it. You don't. I can see where it's hard to keep creating new storylines. So it's best to just, I would say, go back to it and go back to what you're familiar with, and fill in the holes in the story, and it could be really great, honestly. And if RE2 remake and there's an RE3 remake and they are, really good and they're accepted by, most of the fans, will say, because you'll never get 100% of that. But I would be very much down for all the things that we said that a reboot could include, for sure.
No, I don't know why the fans feel so entitled, but the thing is that I would say the fans are like a vocal minority for some reason, because the fans hate Resident Evil 5. Like, Resident Evil 5 is still doing good. Fans hate Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 did do pretty well in terms of sales. And the fans hated 4, and then 4 did really good. So there is a small group of people that Capcom probably really don't care about, like the people that want fixed camera angles, tank controls, and stuff like that.
Well, I guess here's the
bigger audience.
I mean, it's a real balance of Capcom is definitely more concentrated on sales. So it's like people like me, for sure. It's like you're not going to listen to some of that stuff, and
I mean, it sucks, and it's making the community really toxic to the point where if you comment and say, "Oh, I love Resident Evil 7," you'll get chewed out.
But here's the thing: who are the fans that are buying Resident Evil 5 and 6? We'll leave it to that. the reason why 5 and 6 have sales are the people that don't read files. They don't care about story.
Yeah,
They don't.
true.
So what fans are you attracting? Capcom. You're attracting more casual players, people who
Just
love
casual
co-oping.
players.
And
Yeah.
and people who can
That's
just
what
they play
sucks.
the game once and they toss and they say, give me another iteration of fucking Call of Duty, whatever game. Give me another iteration of that where it's like the exact same thing with some new graphics or mechanic.
This is my problem with Capcom, because I'm not saying vocal minority is like a bad thing, because I'm one of them, but it sucks that Capcom, like, the series is so split and that there's so many casuals compared to like the dedicated fans with just a handful of people. I would say, like, let's put it like this, like there's 100 dedicated fans and there's millions of casuals that just keep buying the Resident Evil games, and then the fans are just sitting here like just suffering because they're not really going to listen, because they're listening to just the money and the sales and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would there's got to be a science to it where, yeah, like you were saying, there's like hundreds, probably hundreds of fans, maybe thousands of fans
Thousands of fans.
Yeah, like that are really hardcore, that really care about story. And then you just got into the millions where it doesn't even matter, because these guys people just want another iteration of a shooter, and they're just like, and that's what brings it down but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, they need money to make the games, but it's like,
yeah, you gotta look at it from their standpoint. Like, they tried with Resident Evil 6, they tried to appeal to everyone, and it failed. And then 7, they tried the same thing. They did like the first person and stuff, so it can appeal to more people as well as satisfy the hardcore fans, which didn't really work because a lot of hardcore fans don't really like 7. But 7 did do pretty well in their eyes for being a horror game. But it's like, they just need to find that perfect mix of like being able to satisfy casuals as well as the fans.
Yeah, so with Resident Evil 6, it was a failed strategy to begin with to please everyone.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you only like, how do I say it? If you only like one thing about Resident Evil, and it's like, well, it's included in Resident Evil 6, it's a very limited experience, because then the rest of the game is shit to you. You're like, why am I going to pay full price for a game that has a little bit of what appeals to me? So it was a failed strategy to begin with. I don't know. That did not make any sense, to do that. It's funny that they're kind of still playing the same game with Resident Evil 7 in terms of trying to please everyone. If you look at the DLC a bit, there's a little bit of trying to please everyone with that, where it's like, okay, we've got Daughters, which is a very good prequel, like, story-driven thing. Then we've got The Bedroom, which is a puzzle-oriented thing. Then you've got Nightmare, which is action-oriented. And it's like, again, experience where it's like you're forced to buy the package of the volume of the DLC, but there's like, because that's what I felt like, there's only one or two of the DLC that I really like. The rest I don't really like. So in a way, we're still playing that game of pleasing everyone with 7 in terms of that. But I don't know. I forgot what the original question was, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
I doubt Capcom. No, there's these extreme fans saying Capcom doesn't care about their fans. But I doubt that, because they're trying so hard to please both sides.
That's why
they do these tours and stuff.
RE2 is going to be a shit show. No matter what, it's going to be like, it's not going to be fun. Like, I swear, there's going to be some section of people that are just going to be pissed. You're just going to be like fixed camera angle, and then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, I'm not going to play this because it's so dated or whatever. And then you got the opposite problem as well. And it's like, no matter what, there's going to be a freak out. And I do think that's a big reason why Capcom probably held off on it for so long. Because to me, RE2 original is a 10 out of 10. And some people say, why remake a 10 out of 10 kind of game? I have different reasons that I wanted to remake, but like, for my reason of a remake was not to improve something that was flawed. It was more of just to
update it
and make sure that the same story and the same everything kind of comes into it gets revitalized so that people today play Resident Evil 2 and still get this same experience that I had. You know, but it's obviously I don't know how to say it. I like the word revitalize it because like it's basically the same thing but appeal to people a little more today, but still get the same experience somehow. And again, I lost what the beginning of the point was, but Capcom is I do think that they're listening. They're trying really hard, but
Yeah, they're trying.
I do see they're trying. So
it's annoying when I just see these extreme people just saying that Capcom doesn't care and that they want to boycott because voice actresses and stuff. It's just ridiculous.
Like, I get it. Like, yeah, she should be able to voice the role of Claire because she's been Claire for God knows how long. But, I mean, it's nothing to boycott about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just hope they... Well, the only thing is that I do hope that they take it seriously with the voice acting because that was something big. Like that was a big change in Resident Evil 2 from Resident Evil 1 was the voice acting was a whole lot better.
A lot better.
And, yeah. It was not this like I mean, yeah, it was cheesy, but I mean it wasn't like it was good cheesy and not like, you know, just worst or rated worst what was it? Worst voice acting in all of gaming.
Yeah, I'm being checked by someone in chat. I won't name names because I said RE2 is going to be a shit show. I'm like, come on, really? You don't think that there's going to be like no matter what, there's going to be?
Oh yeah, there's going to be people that are pissed no matter what.
Yeah, there's going to be something because you can't please everyone. You can't. Oh, I mean, the series is over 20 years old.
Voice.
You hear me?
Your voice is crackling.
Yeah.
How? Why?
Just unplug your mic real quick and then plug it back in. That's what I do for mine. There we go. But hold up, what is that?
Do you hear me?
Yes. All right, you're good now.
So yeah, he's saying. What are you saying in the chat? Was RE1 remake a shit show? Well, no, it wasn't, but it also was remade only 6 years after, right? 6 years after the original, not 20 years after. And that's the problem with the series at this point is there's so many variety of fans that like this or that about the series. It just seems inevitable, and it goes probably to the original point. They should have remade it a long time ago. They should have pulled the trigger a long time ago, and they shouldn't have waited this long. If they had done it earlier, maybe it would have been better. Instead of doing Dark Side Chronicles and doing that, they should have done it. But then again, some argue that, well, if it was done during that era, it would have been over the shoulder. It would have been totally action fusking. I don't know. It won't be a shit show. Honestly, I know there's a lot of opposition to fixed camera angles and stuff and tank controls, but that's the core fan base. Like that's the vocal fan base, we'll say. Well, and I do think that that's the target audience. I've used that phrase before. I think that the reason for the remake is to pull back in the people that left the series, and they left it because they didn't identify with all the more action-oriented stuff. They prefer the slower paced stuff. So no, it won't be a shit show. I think personally, I don't. If they go that way, yeah, there will be people bitching, but I guarantee the bitching will be less. I don't want to use the word bitching. That's probably not good. The complaints and the opinionated, vocal stuff, I think will be less. If they do the fixed camera angles and stuff like that, like it's going to happen no matter what. But I do think that I've been out there. The strong push is for all that stuff. I don't want to get into that talk now because I got to go right now. But
right.
yeah. So But I'll just leave it at that, and you just let that sit on the table and just deal with it.
And you know, there's this one last question, which is should they add in remake some gory you're dead scenes, like alternate death scenes, sort of like fatality sequences in Mortal Kombat? You know, like William Birkin, like when he hits you with the bar, you know, it's kind of like a Negan kind of thing where you're just like on your knees and then you look up with like blood and then bam, he just hits you in the head. And just so
like, yeah, that's a good point. I would bring up, like, I probably would say that's where Resident Evil 2 and 4 have something really in common, which are the death sequences. Because, don't get me started with the censorship in the series. That has just been, that's a subject.
I just played, I'm playing
5 and 6 censorship.
Dude, I am playing Resident Evil 5 and they censored a chainsaw beheading. That is such bullshit.
And you try to hide it by like the character falling off screen. But if you like go to a corner or whatever, you die with the character. You can see the head still there.
Yeah, I just
so yeah, Resident Evil has a history with the censorship. There's some videos on it that are really interesting out there, and yeah, that was actually one of the reasons why I didn't like Code Veronica. I didn't want to say didn't like it, but that was a tiny little nitpicky thing that I didn't like about Code Veronica back in the day, was that it really seemed like a step back, and it was just weird. I thought we were progressing with games and being more graphic, and it kind of went the other way. So I was really surprised with Resident Evil 4 and how graphic that was. And I think that's another reason why it sold so well, is because when you die, it is so horrific. It is so in your face and vivid and everything. And you get that chainsaw revving up and you get hit with that and your head goes flying like that. People loved it. And then like the I don't know what the name of them are, but the insect beings, if they grab you and kill you, they like spit acid on your face and your skull is exposed. Like there's some really good death scenes in that game. And yeah, that's a good selling point, honestly. Just because it makes everything so much more intense. Like
Well, in my eyes, it's like you don't want these characters to die. And if you see these characters die in like really, really, really gory ways, it makes you think twice, like, shit, I might have to I might have to change some right here so that they don't die again. But it's like,
could you imagine though, like a licker like jumping at you and cuts you just in half? That would be crazy.
And then like all the even though Claire and Leon are like my favorite characters, Claire, Leon, and Resident Evil 3 Jill. I have to be specific about that Jill. You want stars? I'll show you stars. But I mean, even though I love those characters, it wouldn't bother me to see like gore of them, because I fucking play Mortal Kombat for like let's see, if I was late to, I was probably playing Mortal Kombat for 15 years. So it's like I'm used to like my favorite characters dying in gory ways. So I mean,
Mortal Kombat is a great example of like, there's no reason for censorship these days. For God's sake, the last couple Mortal Kombat games are gruesome they are so. I've seen them before. I'm like, holy shit, crazy
hat trick where he throws it in the ground and he buzzsaws the guy in half, and they like buzz off the guy's crotch off up to his head and shit, and like burn their crotch off or something. It's like and then it's like Resident Evil's like, no, we can't show a decapitation. Really? Like, come on.
They have the Davalia thing that is just the Davalia death is pathetic. It bites you in half and there's like no organs or anything falling out. It's just like a little splotch of blood.
Yeah,
that's like, right. That's right. It does cut you in half, but like you just flop down and it's like
a little thing of blood.
Nothing. No,
like a cup of blood.
Like the more the thing is that the more controversial, the freaking better. Because like I remember when I was hyping up Mortal Kombat X at my school, and they used to have these like Mortal Kombat trailers, and they would show the fatality at the end. The Ermac trailer, when they showed like his intestine being pulled out, dude, that That got my friend so hyped that he fucking pre-ordered it that day. He was not joking around. He was like, that is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I'm pre-ordering. So, I mean, yeah, even though I love Claire and Leon, I would love to see like at least a little bit of guts or brain matter or whatever, like in the death sequence. Like I said, they could do it where like William Birkin, he has the pipe, he hits Claire or Leon in the head with it, and then the death, like it's all black, and then you just look up, and then he just hits you on the head again with like, you know, just blood all over their mouth and stuff. Like that'd be amazing. I just they just need to stop censoring this shit.
It's
Yeah,
really
because
bad.
even Resident Evil 3, like Resident Evil 3 had some good death scenes,
Yeah.
like Nemesis, like tossing you around. I'm trying to remember some other ones. You might get decapitated in that. No, you don't think you do. You don't get decapitated in Think of 3, but
No,
but
Resident Evil 3 didn't really have any death sequences like they did in Resident Evil 2. It
you know,
was
it
like,
didn't like zoom in on you as you were getting eaten by zombies. It didn't do
Yeah.
any of that. It just kind of like faded out and like
yeah, with
Yeah.
like your whole body red and stuff. Which I mean, just like, why? Why?
That's why I
censor
think
it?
that was a definitely thing that was attractive about Resident Evil 2 back then, along with like games like Mortal Kombat and stuff. Is like when I was a kid, I was like, you know, I just wanted to see more gore and shit. Like so, they just censorship is. I don't know why they even bother anymore.
Yeah, another thing that
Yeah.
bothers me at Resident Evil, they need to kill their characters. Like, girl, some balls, Capcom.
Yeah, I know.
God damn.
Like, I mean, everybody's killing their characters for Christ's sakes. I mean, come on,
Not
dude.
my Redfield.
It's getting
Sorry.
so ridiculous that the amount of plot armor they put in the games and movies now is just laughable. Just kill the characters.
But I mean, the last question before we end this is a question from Next Gen Resident Evil, which is why I really, really, really wanted to bring him into here because I wanted to hear his thoughts on it. Is what would the Resident Evil series be like if Shinji stayed after the Resident Evil 4 was ported? And we're saying like if he didn't go with Bethesda and made the Evil Within or anything, he stayed with Capcom, and you know, he worked on future Resident Evils.
Like I hear things that Shinji Mikami doesn't even like Resident Evil, and that he wanted to give it he wanted a team to work on Resident Evil 4, and he would just oversee what they're doing.
What?
Like he doesn't seem like he's really interested.
What?
That's what I started hearing stuff like that.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure there's an
Holy
article
shit.
out there
Wow.
somewhere. He doesn't like Rebecca. There's some stuff that he doesn't like.
I mean, even though I kind of like Rebecca as a character, she's not a fan favorite. I'm saying she's not a favorite though, like Chris and Jill and Claire and Leon.
To me, Rebecca was mainly fascinating because I hadn't seen her in so long. You know, like that's why what attracted me so much about Vendetta is that it's like but other than that, it's like I don't know. I found the continuity between Zero and Remake like
Weird.
not really there. It was a little
Weird.
off. So basing it off of that, yeah, I could see that. But I mean, she kind of does have that allure to me that Claire almost has in terms of experience because she is a member of STARS, but she's the I forgot the technical term.
The child-hearted, kind of like the good-hearted girl. She's
she's just like a medic, I guess, right? Is that what her role is? I guess
Yeah.
in STARS.
Yeah,
you know,
with a field
so
medic.
she's not supposed to be built for combat, except Zero kind of, you know, makes her seem way more capable than we thought. But so she does have kind of that kind of inexperienced kind of thing. It's kind of what attracts me about like Claire and Leon is that Claire she's trained by her brother, but not much. You know, it's not like she's a member of STARS or he's a cop, but it's his first day, so it's not like he's really that experienced either. So Rebecca does have a little appeal in that. I could see that. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
He doesn't like her because he doesn't like submissive women, and like because
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Shinji Mikami didn't like
Yeah,
Rebecca,
and then
which is
Yeah.
probably why
It's the same thing
they
with
did
Billy.
they oh Billy.
like Billy, like he doesn't like that Rebecca has to rely on Billy, but then Billy also has to rely on Rebecca, so it's kind of like it's kind of weird.
Hmm.
For him to say he doesn't like Rebecca because of that when they have to work with each other.
Well, like I guess assuming if Shinji Mikami did care about Resident Evil, and also even after everything that went down, he still felt inspired enough to continue with Resident Evil. I know you're asking it to next gen, but I guess
Well, no,
yeah,
I'm
you have to
asking
make,
it for everybody.
you have to make those big assumptions though. Like he would, because at the end of the day, if he's not inspired to make the series anymore, and he's kind of just doing it for a paycheck or for something, not for the game, it's gonna show. It's gonna definitely show. But I will say this, and I do find a lot of people with the same thoughts, is that The Evil Within is a good idea, but something was not executed right. A lot of people are conflicted about it. I didn't finish The Evil Within, and I remember just recently going like, what the hell was that story even about? Because even that was the problem I found out that I had with the first The Evil Within was the story was not progressing enough for me in the game. You would get files, but it didn't come together for me enough, and apparently it didn't come together at the end anyway for a lot of people because it was too confusing or it didn't shed light enough and it wasn't compelling enough. So that's a perfect example of what we could have seen. Is it's the same over the shoulder aspect. The Evil Within feels like a Resident Evil 4 bargain. What do you call it? Like a bargain Resident Evil 4 almost. Like it's like, I don't know. I don't want to hate on people that like The Evil Within. I'm looking for the second one, but I tried playing the first one. I just couldn't get into it as much, and I don't know. We'll have to see what he can create. I don't know what other games he created, but it's a mixed bag.
Like it would be cool. Like The Evil Within, even though it was straight up like a Resident Evil 4 clone, I would like to see Resident Evil 5 and 6 like that, other than what 5 and 6 are like now. With all of the action and stuff like that. Because his mix on that was pretty good. His mix with action and horror.
I mean, yeah, I do like Resident Evil 4, so
yeah, Resident Evil 4 is good. It's not Resident Evil 4 was like a good mix. And then 5 just went more towards action, but with that a slight bit of horror. And then 6 just went like straight up just action.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous. Not just
more explosions.
I just think that if Shinji Mikami just stayed, he would have maybe made a game explaining Krauser. Like just what they did with the rail shooter, but that game would have been different. It would have probably been a game that we can just play. It's not on rails. It would explain Krauser, another incident, of course. And the series wouldn't have any plot problems because he's the creator. He laid down the lore and everything. So if he stayed, the lore wouldn't be a mess. The games would be pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Damn,
I know I said before, like the lore is like okay, but the gameplay is just so awful now. I mean, now it's decent because they went back with Resident Evil 7, but then again, not a lot of fans like Resident Evil 7, and then people want Resident Evil 8, and then they want Resident Evil 8 to be a horror, or not a horror game, but an action game.
Oh,
yeah, you can look that up.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Please don't. Okay, actually, here is a question that I just thought of. What if Resident Evil Remake and Zero was a success? What do you think the future would have been for the series had they been a success on the GameCube?
And they did all right.
Well, this is the thing. There's a website. It's like VGSales.com or something like
Yeah, that's
that.
the website I use.
And from what it says, Remake and Zero only sold like 1.5 million each, or like I think it was like RE1 a GameCube.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 is about the same. Resident Evil 4 is just, it's because Resident Evil 4 was ported and the other two were not ported. They didn't even get a chance.
I didn't see the sales. I don't know if it. I don't think it did. I don't think it broke down like RE4 and GameCube. So this is the only thing I can assume is that okay, all three of these games, 0, 1, and 4, come out on GameCube. So 0 sells like 1.1 million or something like that, 1.2, and then Remake sells about 1.5. Oh, 1.3. Okay, so and then probably I would assume that Resident Evil 4 hit some kind of threshold of like maybe it hit over 2 million, you know, more than the people from the remakes. And maybe that was just enough for them to be like, you know what? And I don't know what goes into maybe they had to break out of their exclusivity, if that costs money to do something like that. It's like a contract maybe, or I have no idea how it works, but I can only imagine to get out of that probably was not easy to do, to port Resident Evil 4. And they probably maybe just didn't, for some reason, it just needed a little more sales, maybe another 500,000, 1 million to convince them on 0 or Remake, and it just wasn't there. So I'm just making a lot of assumptions, of course, but that's all I can think of why. But I would say if it just had a little more, we would have had what 3.5 would have been, I think. But then like I said, I do have problems with the whole hallucination story aspect. That's a little too far. It's a little too. They do touch upon that in Resident Evil 7, but it's done in a way where it's kind of at the end of the game and it's not the focal point, whereas RE4 would have been the focal point of that. But I do think it would have been, they would have just continued on doing that storyline. And who knows? I mean, that might not have, maybe the series would have died that way. Who knows? I just know everything else about that storyline was really compelling, about rescuing Sherry and all that stuff. But that comes from my bias. Like I said, I got really obsessed with watching that Wesker's report and looking forward to the series. And but yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
What's your?
I'm still just gonna sit by. Like if they ported a remake in 0 and 4, we would have probably got a different Resident Evil 4, or we would have probably still ended up with the same Resident Evil 4. Or let's say they make remake 0, and they just port remake before 4 even becomes a thing. And remake does really well. Maybe it does as well as 4 did. Because 4 sold about like 6 million copies. I mean, coming up today, about 6 million copies. And remake on GameCube sold like 1.4 mil. 0's like lagging behind a little bit. And then 4 on GameCube is about the same, almost the same as remake.
Oh, it was? Oh, it does.
Almost. It's almost the same.
What? Oh my god! Oh wow!
It's very confusing. Maybe it was the
It's the
and
port.
not
it's
just the
because
sales, but the reviews. I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I
would
think
have
it's
thought
just
that,
because 4 was ported, and we didn't get a remake port until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well. Do you guys think that they would have?
Well, rest in peace.
Yeah. What?
Your mic's gone.
Rip.
Rest in peace.
Okay.
You back?
Nothing.
All right.
Correct.
Do you all think that?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Do you guys think that if they have, sold like met their goals and everything for Resident Evil Remake, do you think they would have stayed with fixed camera angles and tank controls and like the good storylines and stuff?
Tank controls will have to stay because that's the only controls that really work with fixed camera angles.
True.
But I think the series would have been a lot different if if they port it, remake. I'm never really gonna change my mind on that.
I mean,
well, no, I mean that's what I definitely agree. I mean, I don't know if I was saying it the right way, but like I agree. If they just ported remake, it would have been totally different.
Yes, the community wouldn't be separated. Everybody would
No.
be getting along right now.
But the interesting thing I will say about this is one of the other things I like about Resident Evil is that it is a leader in the gaming industry, and it's like, damn, that's the conflict with 4 is that it just, I mean, yeah, a lot of the gaming mechanic, like over the shoulder and stuff, but that could have been maybe included, in a, something else, like I said, 3.5 kind of story points. But damn, it's like people got to realize when they think about Resident Evil 4, it really did change things, because back then there were no games that were like over the shoulder like that, and being able to pinpoint specific points on the body and having the reaction. I mean, we laugh at that nowadays, like, that's really significant. Back then it was. There were no games that were programmed like that to do that. So I don't know. It's really, and you got to think too, like what happened to Silent Hill and that series. I love the first 4 games. I especially love 2 and 4 personally of Silent Hill, but that's kind of a series that died, I think, because it didn't change things. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but
yeah.
I mean, if you look at compare Silent Hill, virtually a lot of it's the same themes. Yeah, the Silent Hill 5 Homecoming changed a lot in terms of mechanics. It was much more combat based and stuff, and it was all about like finding your enemy weakness and stuff. But the story had a similar thing from the second game, which was kind of like, I don't want to get into all that, but it had that same kind of like, oh, another one of these kind of storylines. And it didn't really, and it just looked also, and I know it had to do with the Team Silent that was a core few of the people at Konami that were passionate about the series. That's why the previous ones were successful. So, but it still had the same kind of formula. Let's put it that way. It had the same formula, and it didn't change things. And I think that's a big contributor why it died and why it became mediocre. And then what was it? This other Silent Hill game with Downpour. I started playing that, and there's no. It's just there's something uninspired by it. But anyway, it's really interesting when you think about that. Like, if Resident Evil didn't change, it's hard to tell. I don't know.
Like, so many games wouldn't exist if 4 didn't become a thing.
Exactly.
Gears of War, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Gears of War and I was gonna say Dead Space.
Yeah, Dead Space.
Yeah, Dead Space definitely wouldn't have became.
That wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
So Resident Evil 4 did a lot of good.
Yeah.
I just wish if Shinji Mikami didn't leave, the series wouldn't be as bad.
It wouldn't be so divided and
so divided.
Like these are all questions like, it's like,
just has you wonder.
What if this would have happened? How much good or bad would have it done?
So we can't really say he's the savior because he never really stayed to help everyone get over Resident Evil 4 or whatever, or just like clean up the series. Because 4 at that time was just so like, it was bad for some people, for some fans, because it felt irrelevant. Like who was Krauser? And then stock market crashing when we all expected the fall.
That pissed me off so much. I can't even tell you. Like, don't even.
Like, if he would have stayed and made more games going back, like before Resident Evil 4, instead of like what Capcom gave us, those shitty rail shooters, like I said, like so many times. Like, it just has me just wondering. I mean, rail shooters aren't terrible. I just hate that the important stuff is in a rail shooter. Just has me just wondering.
But yeah, I guess that's it for all the stuff, all the topics.
Cool.
So I do want to thank you all for watching or listening. Follow me on Podmatic and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Survive Combatants, if you are listening to this by podcast, and on iTunes as well, since it's in there, as well. And there will be more stuff that's added into the podcast by iTunes and Podomatic than in YouTube. But I do love doing this podcast series, and I'll keep on doing it. I am setting up an episode with Aaronage, Jared the Dog, and also possibly a interview with Cryinghorn. So, but these are all plans that might not come to fruition. But these will be a next episode. The future of Killer Instinct with Aaronage, what happened to Twitch shooters with Baboom, and the second great game crash with Jared the Dog. Like I said, the interview with Cryinghorn might or might not happen. So yeah. Subscribe to my friends Resident Evil Talk and Next Gen Resident Evil. I have their YouTube channel, their Twitter, and their Discord in the link below. Resident Evil Talk always does live streams of classic Resident Evil games. So yeah, subscribe to all of them. Thank you all for watching.
All right.
Oh yeah, by the way, RE Talk and Next Gen, do you have anything regarding a future project that you guys are working on? A video, a live stream, anything?
I'm going to be doing live lore discussions so I can learn a little bit more about Resident Evil along with everybody else who's interested.
That's cool. I'm doing some, yes, as you said, I'm doing streaming right now. I need to get out a review of Vendetta. I just purchased it. I did see it last month, but or in June actually. But I really want to get my final thoughts out there, so look out for that. My next video is probably going to be Vendetta, the movie.
Alrighty. Yeah, and my next video will probably be about Killer Instinct and censoring the fucking Ultimates because Jesus Christ. But yeah, thank y'all for listening. Catch you next episode. Bye.